All right, so we're on to new business. With up first is a appointment of our new deputy treasurer.
Yay!
Catherine McLaughlin.
Yes.
And so the process is the board appoints with the agreement of the treasurer, and then she'll have to come in and be sworn.
I see.
But she couldn't come tonight.
I see.
We invited her, but
Okay.
Who swears her in?
a clerk, a moderator, the board,
Okay.
and the statute. You know, it says town clerk, but I don't think it means. In our case, I think it means our clerk.
So we need a motion to.
Yes, you need a motion to appoint her.
Make a motion to appoint Catherine McLaughlin to the deputy treasurer's position.
I'll second that.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
All right, so that,
Doesn't think it's a good idea. You know, it's handy for everybody because they can get over there. She's there all the time.
Yep.
next up, 2019 budget deliberations.
Yeah, and
That important topic.
Ooh.
You all have a budget in your packet. It's the
Yes.
one with the yellow highlights on the right-hand side. And
Right.
to kick it off, let me just say a couple things.
Please.
In this budget, one number that is missing is still the water tank assessment. So we have that in there, but it's blank, it's zero. And the yellowed ones are all related to payroll.
Right.
And we don't finally decide on payroll until the
CPI.
15th. Yeah, the CPI from November comes out on the 15th of this month. Baked in to this budget now is a 2.25 CPI kicker. So we'll adjust it up or down, depending on what the CPI comes in at on Friday. So, and then there's another sheet in your packs, and it says budget deliberations or considerations, things that we need to think about, things we need to talk about.
I was going to ask, do we have any rough idea of what the water tank inspection is going to be?
We have a meeting with a company next Tuesday on the 20th, and we'll hopefully get a better idea then.
Okay.
It's not NACA,
No, it's DN Tanks.
different than we've used before?
This is the original manufacturer of that tank.
Oh,
Yeah, Nat Gun was the upper tank.
okay.
Yeah.
So who's been assessing the tank and cleaning the tank previously?
This year we had Underwater Solutions
Okay.
out of Massachusetts. They have divers, and in the past it's been Liquid Engineering out of Montana.
That's right, I knew we had
Yep.
one from far away.
Yes.
Right. So, Mr. Chairman, do you want me to go through them all and then go back to the top, or you want to just go through the water ones? You should pull out this sheet. You have it for you.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of important stuff here, so I
And
don't
this
see.
isn't entirely inclusive. We
Right.
can consider anything. These are just things I thought were important for the board
Yeah.
to look at.
Yeah. No. Let's.
So the storage tank assessment, we don't know the number yet.
Right.
And it's been proposed to replace a truck. I thought you'd want to talk about that. We didn't build anything in to deposit into capital reserve for water. And I just want to pause there.
Right.
And there are a number of capital items under sewer that have been proposed. And because sewer is a more wealthy arm of our organization, we did propose to put 91,000 in accounts, in various accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a line in the budget for the Holderness School sewer line evaluation, which is entirely reimbursable, but because our budget doesn't start until January, the folks at Holderness School are considering whether to fund that themselves, and then we won't have it in our budget.
Fund it directly.
Fund it directly.
Well,
which is-
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I mean,
Yeah.
when we first started to do it, we were contemplating taking over the line, and we wanted the engineers to work for us.
Right.
But I think they're halfway there. I think it's fine. I hope Holderness School does, so that we're not banking
Right. As long as
Yeah.
we are not excluded from any of the
reports, et cetera.
reports
That would be
or
me.
any oversight that we might need
Yeah,
to do
that would be clear.
to do our job completely.
And then in both water and sewer budgets, it's proposed to have $5,000 in each budget for enclosed trailer. We did get the amount from Wright Pierce on a long-range rate study, which is $19,700. And I have the proposal. I may have sent it to you, but I haven't.
You did.
Okay, good. There is $50,000 in proposed interim interest in the water budget and $100,000 in the sewer budget. And we did add in those numbers for the short-lived asset reserves that we talked about last meeting.
Oh, right, the one that the auditors said we needed?
No, not the auditor, rural development.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
You know, they loan us money and they dictate a lot of what we can do, and they gave us a water number and a sewer number that we have to put in the bank annually for the life of the loan. So that's in the budget.
Right.
And then just a question that I had, we have been doing an over and under budget for our budget hearing audience. And I don't really think it's valuable because we have so many items, capital items from last year that aren't in this budget. I mean, it's a lot of work for not much gain. I mean, chemicals is going up by $25,000. We can explain that. You know, it's not a good over and under exercise, you know, where you say, why are uniforms going up $5 or, you know, what.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our budget is pretty static. We reduce things when we can in the operations, and really it's the capital items that are so expensive. And
Yes.
if we did it over under in capital, everything's under by millions and millions of dollars. It just doesn't make sense. It's not helpful to do one.
Yeah,
So
right,
I'm
right.
getting permission, if you'll give it to me, to not do one this year.
Yes.
Not that we wouldn't be prepared to talk about any ups
Yes.
or downs.
I mean, it sounds to me like it's better dealt with on a line item, on a highlights basis than an actual
Right.
complete
That's those
budget.
highlights.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's sort of the broad overview, but we
The
should...
broad brush.
Broad
yeah.
brush, so, I mean, we should talk about all of that. Ask Jason questions.
Yeah.
Well, my first question would be, how bad's the truck? I mean, I get
As
that
I know,
it's 8
we did
years old,
purchase
but
several trucks.
we just
It
got
wasn't that many years ago.
1,500 half-ton water truck, which is the primary truck that the water operators drive around in. It has needed several repairs over the last few years and is starting to rust pretty badly.
Number of miles on it?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
2010, you said?
Right, so we're on a 10-year schedule. This will be 1 year earlier than what was scheduled.
Right.
Because of the rust?
Any, I mean, this current value of the value of the truck as it stands, the one we have, is it?
It would have some resale value,
That's right.
yeah.
Well, it's certainly my impression that 10 years is about the rust window for most vehicles up here, especially ones that are on the road a lot all year round.
And I believe we do have capital reserve.
There's a complete capital reserve offset to the appropriation.
Right. Well, we have to weigh that against continued repairs of a vehicle.
Right.
We're not getting into structural repair or frame repair of anything. So I'm more comfortable with going with that. But we have other we got a lot of big number items on here, and we have to kind of tease these apart. One thing on my mind, since I heard the number, this pole barn, I know this was several of these are part of our new initiative with septic receiving, right?
Right, so if the pole barn and the paving were part of the original septic project. And obviously due to the cost coming in over the estimated, the bid cost coming in over the estimated, those items were cut out of the septic project.
But weren't they then made part of the septic 1A? I mean, that was the plan when they got cut out, to roll them into that 750,000?
Yeah, I don't believe they were made into that 1A. I did talk with Mike about potentially adding them as additive alternates into the bid, so if the bids came in low enough, we could add them into the bid and have the work done within that scope of the project scope. But I'm not, holding my breath on that, I guess, is the reason why we put them in the budget this year.
Right. Pole barn specifically, begs the question: can it be done with a hoop building as opposed to a more permanent structure?
Yeah, it could be done with a hoop building. The biggest cost factor within that cost is actually the foundation and the push walls. So this is something that we are going to be casting in place and not relying on block like we've done in the past. The foundation, we were storing sand and gravel and materials in the south garage, and over the years, from wear and tear in there, the actual foundation wall was pushed out on that building, just from doing that. So this is something that needs a sturdy structure and a cover. The cover can be a multitude of things: stick frame, wood frame, hoop house, but it's actually the foundation part, which is a majority of the cost.
Where is it going to go?
On the north end of the site, along the newly formed fence.
Okay. And that's storing materials related to what?
This will be sand, gravel, and stone, as well as pipe needed for repair. Right now we have a stack of pipe that's sitting outside, and it's weathered, and it's pretty much no good because the PVC pipe fades, the concrete in the ductile iron pipe deteriorates and starts crumbling. So we need some sort of storage area for pipe materials out of the weather, as well as the sand and gravel and stone.
Right. Well, I think that's going to, my own personal opinion, I had a discussion with Mel in the past week, and in the larger context of, are we going ahead with all of these large expenditures? And, my feeling is, I suggested the notion of a new normal, which would mean, if we're taking on a lot of debt to do capital projects, that, we have to, we've extended ourselves significantly, and we have to be very, we're going to have to be very trim about expending, our more operational side of things. At the same time, we're also,
you can't cut off your nose to spite your face either.
Right.
So yeah, we were actually surprised at first. The price that we put in the budget is similar to what the price that Wright Pierce gave us as a cost estimate for the building, and we were hesitant and leery of that as well until we actually started getting cost estimates for it.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're pouring a lot of concrete then.
Right.
Yeah.
These are all wastewater treatment plant upgrades. There's, if the document's up to date, there's $213,000 in capital reserve that could be used for all these purposes.
Building insulation. What are we addressing there? Is this energy efficiency? Is that what you're driving?
Right. So if you recall, 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago now that we replaced a lot of the furnaces inside of all the buildings. Yes. We went through an energy audit since then, and that was one of the notables, was to then better insulate the buildings to be more efficient. And this includes the south garage.
It's on their list.
Yeah.
Right. So is there any possibility of, I know that there are programs, both residential and commercial, to funding. Is there a possibility of funding there that we might be able to go after?
Yeah, we can look into the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. I know offers energy rebates for that type of stuff. I'm not sure if Dead River or any of the propane fuel companies do, but we can look into that.
Yeah. That's not
I think they do for residents that have need.
They're doing a.
But they do have a commercial program. I was just looking at this for NHEC just today. In fact, the latest bulletin.
I mean, these are
What's
just
the priority
tiny.
for these 5 things?
I would say the dewatering is the number 1 priority. Insulation would probably be the number 2. The wet well headworks would be number 3.
Yeah, that seems like it's a need. It's only
Pole barn would be number 4, and then paving would be number 5.
Okay, that tells you a little bit more. And do you want to,
You can always go one more year on paving.
yeah.
Right. Right now we have a dirt lot. It does make a mess, and it is
Yeah.
a maintenance.
Right.
But we can move on with
Yeah.
dirt.
And do you want to throw the 91,000 that we've put in the budget to put into capital reserves? Do you want to sort of throw that into the mix for decision making? You know, normal
Well-
years we do all of it.
Well, I mean, to be honest, my thinking is, my feeling about how I want to spend money here is dependent on how we decide to spend money on our,
Right,
Yep.
right. So we don't,
I mean,
we don't have to make these decisions
yeah,
today.
I just don't feel like I can
Okay.
I can address this.
All these things are in the budget, so we'll, as we make decisions and have the hearing, we can take things out.
Right.
Well, could we at least say that there's a low-hanging fruit here without the paving? I mean, we can probably do without that right off the top.
Yep.
And cut the list down to 4.
Is that,
That's
that a
I'm just
consensus?
throwing it out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Like I said, the paving and the pole barn, we're potentially looking at as adding as alternative additives to our bid proposal for the next phase of septic. So,
Yeah,
like I said,
well,
if
that's fine to put
if
them
the
in
price comes in low, then we can get those accomplished. If not, then they can obviously wait another year if that's something the board considers.
yeah.
And the 30,000 for the sewer line evaluation is not in the budget. So if Holderness School doesn't want to fund it
Right, we are
themselves,
not saving.
Right. It's not like, yes, that's,
but that's just, it's money in and out as long as we build them timely. So we'll get an answer on that in time to get something in the budget if we have to.
yeah. Well, it's the horse in the cart here. We are kind of around in
Yeah.
circles. Yeah, can we move on a little bit here?
Yeah, I would think so.
Is that good?
Yep.
The enclosed trailer, I can understand, for the benefit of all the board, I discussed this with Mel, but the crew is looking, as I understand, to be able to be more mobile with all of the parts and whatnot you need as you're doing repairs in the field. So that's what this trailer addresses?
Yep, yeah, mainly for emergency repairs, so we have all the tools and equipment we need in a trailer to be able to hook up and take it throughout the town if there's an emergency, instead of having to load it in multiple trucks from different sheds. And we were looking for one from both water and one for sewer.
Two trailers.
2 trailers.
Okay, my misunderstanding. I thought that it was five for each for one trailer.
I'm pretty sure it was in both budgets.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it would be
So,
used by
Says
both,
each budget.
so funded by both?
no, there'll be a separate trailer for each.
So they're 5,000 each? is that-
Correct.
Two trailers.
Yeah.
All right. That makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
immediately, yes.
All right, so that gets the green light.
Right. Well, I don't want
Yeah.
to speak for the
No,
board.
That's
It's
fine.
made the cut so far, put it that
So
way.
far it's made the cut.
And the long-term rate study, and we need that.
Well,
I
Well, I mean,
would think, but-
it's somewhat, well, I mean, I had this discussion with this with.
But do we need it for $20,000 was gonna be my question.
Right, it begs the immediate question is, what immediate benefit do we get from it? What is it going to tell us that we don't already know, besides rates are going up? We know rates are going up.
It's a way to, I think, quantify what we know intuitively. Yeah, we know rates are going up, but we don't know how much, really. This might give us a finer focus on that.
Mhm.
How the value of that is, not arguable, but up for debate.
Mhm.
let me just say a couple things, and I don't know whether I think we should do it or not, but we would not, well, are we going to hold off on the big project decisions until we receive this, is one question that I have. And this proposal doesn't include a risk analysis. Now, what if we don't do it? Or, I was thinking this afternoon, you know, what are all our options? You know, either take the huge bite and suffer really large rate increases fast. Do we, and you know, this might be heresy, do we decline the grant money and bite off our project slowly? Do we delay starting until we get this rate analysis back from Wright Pierce? You know, push things off. I mean, there's a lot of consequential decisions facing us.
If we push things off, what does that do with the money
We have 5 years to get to substantial completion.
So we potentially could take a
year off?
Right, and still perhaps get all of these things done.
I will say though that if we're in motion, to the extent that we're in a contract with Jamie Emery and Garrett, the well project is moving. I mean, we wouldn't have to construct it, but if we get good results from the exploratory and we get a permit, I would think that we'd want to move forward on that.
After all these
But you
years.
can take it piecemeal.
But that shouldn't be tied to RD.
That's what I'm saying, is that piecemeal or
And
all?
that's not tied to RD either.
Okay.
But I mean, that project, yeah, but we'll still end up borrowing a lot of money to do it, so it's not tied to RD, but you know, I know there's been feelings about the septic projects because it's a revenue getter. You know, we'll have to spend a lot of millions to get in. You know, the revenue we generate will probably, 2/3 of it will be taken by debt service. If we stay at the $300,000 income for that, you know, we're paying about $60 a year for Septage 1, and Septage 1A and 3 is 1.5 times as expensive, 1.5 million, 1.55.
So that would be $150,000
in interest.
a year in just
so half. It would take half.
Take half of,
half
of our current
revenue. Correct.
Right, so, but if we could, I mean, I guess the hope has been that we would grow that revenue by, I don't know, 25% or something like that. So,
Well, the thing about it is that this rate study doesn't help us for this year.
It doesn't.
And we've got to kind of decide, are we going to fish or cut bait at the moment? You know? Because
well, I mean,
we don't...
I want to, I mean, I think I've been quite sobered by looking at these numbers, and I'm grateful to Mel and Kim for having created them, because this paints in black and white and a little red.
A little red.
How big
we took
the bills would be.
Of our customers, and you know, it's worst case scenario. If the rates go to this amount, how much will those folks pay? We didn't do yours because you're not on water, but we did theirs, and we did a couple of the neighbors and John Q. citizens, and then we did our largest customers, largest 3, I think, to see what and it's not.
Yeah, to put real numbers on it. Let's just throw it out. I mean, I think
for the TV.
My household is pretty average in this town. We pay a little over $1,000 a year. It would go in maximum, or we're looking at about moving it up to about $1,800 a year, an $800 increase.
Yeah, mine's
So
about
in that
700 in 1 year.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much going to stay that way because we're taking out long-term debt.
No, I got it.
And you're two people that are probably pretty conservative about resources.
Well, same with us.
Yeah,
I mean, we're under 1,000 a year. We're at about 900.
We did yours too, I think. Is Bob in there?
Yes, he is in there. Yes.
But our larger customers, I mean, you can go ahead and read those proposed numbers. No decision's been made, but our large customers would have real sticker shock.
Right. I mean, you're talking about 100 to someone like
Hundreds of
PSU. It's hundreds of thousands. Spear, likewise. Well,
Yeah, 40.
right. Yeah, so you're,
One thing that the chairman and I talked about today was, we had great support for these projects at annual meeting, and people don't tend to come to rate hearings if there's no issue. People won't know what the new rates would be until they get their March bill.
Yep.
So,
and as I've said, it's, I feel like so much of the reality of what we're proposing will not hit until that bill
that
is
first
opened,
bill comes.
and people
so
say,
it would be more
why didn't I get involved in?
more Jeffersonian and less Hamiltonian to have a hearing. Let's have 2 hearings. Maybe have a budget hearing in December. We're not on a bond issue timetable for hearings, so we can just do them whenever we want to, and invite the people at least that came to annual meeting last year to say, you supported this. We said we were going to get grant money. We did get the grant money in large order, but it still means we need to borrow whatever it is, $10 million. And this is what it's going to do potentially to the rates.
And it still keeps our rates below average, right, for the state?
I don't know. We're in the middle. We've been in the middle, so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is swinging us to be like one of the highest towns or anything like that, and
Yeah.
that's been part of the reason we can't get money either, because our rates are too low.
Well, just one time. I mean, we got huge.
Right.
Yeah, I thought you provided some data that suggested that
Yeah, I thought I
perhaps
saw that.
our with the graph with the or the web page that had all of those dial indicators or pie charts, I forget, suggesting that our new rates would be fairly high in the state. I thought that, but I'm not recalling exactly.
I think so too. So you could have a hearing, and you could invite those specific people. There are 25 people that came to annual meeting, and I listed, I think, all but 4 of them today. I was going to ask you who I missed on the list just from my memory. And just say, look, you came and supported these initiatives. Now we're at decision time. Just have a hearing. And then do you live with the feedback, or?
Can we post these online without our names on them?
Yeah, well, of course.
That way people
Well-
can look at them and see in real numbers. Post one average user, one below average user, one above average user.
People would have to go to the website.
Right.
Right, but I mean, we're trying to tell people on TV that
right.
this is happening. People ask all the time, is this going to be posted? Where can we find this information?
I'm not protesting. I would be happy to post them. We'll take the names off.
Yeah.
And put them up.
Or like I said, I wouldn't put up all of these, but
no, just to take
put
an
a
average,
few.
2-person, a family.
Right, exactly.
Someone that has 1,000, like me, that has about $1,000 bill, it's going,
We'll put
Yeah.
you up.
right.
Like I said, above average, below average.
Put you up.
Same as mine. I don't care. You can put my name on it. I don't care.
It's public information anyway.
Yeah.
But, then we can encourage people to go and see what the impact would be.
Right. Yeah, here's the
So-
bill that,
We're all anxious to make a decision, but I'm not sure if we need to. We can have a hearing first and then make a decision. We're chomping at the bit to know one way or the other, but that's not a reason to decide. Our engineers, of course, they're chomping at the bit. We'll have a timetable for bid process that'll be different than they envisioned at the beginning.
Right, and we have to wait until March to have all of this, voted in, and I would hate.
No, Judy. No. We have to wait until March. If we go forward with everything, and we raise the rates as we anticipate, people will get their bills in March. This is already through town meeting. There's not going to be any bond issues this year.
No, I know that. But do they have to approve our borrowing and stuff like that, or that's just through us?
They already did.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of it's
all in our hands.
it's all,
Yikes.
it's all in your hands, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
My thought to have a hearing was to bolster your decision,
Yep,
or maybe it won't.
right.
Well, I mean, we all know how sensitive people have been to our property taxes.
Surprises in property taxes.
Right.
I don't want this to be a surprise, I guess that's,
Yeah, no, I mean, this
Where
is
I'm at.
pitchfork and shovel material potentially response. I mean, and I would understand. I mean,
Well, sure.
It's not like we're, even at 20%, 25%, that's high, but we're talking about a percentage that's much higher here.
And like a lot of towns, we have people that have, and we have people that don't have. And, I have a concern for those folks that struggle to pay their bills now. And
Right.
we only have 1,024 users, customers. Some are very much up on the high end, but even their sticker shock would be so high that I think that would even cause, more than ripples, a small tidal wave even at PSU and the hospital and Holderness School.
Right.
Our big,
Yeah,
our big,
certainly.
I know, I saw that.
it's a 65%, I'm gonna say it right out loud, it's a 65% increase, it would be, in the dollar amount. PSU.
Yeah, well, here in a user who's at the low end of usage, it is almost 100% increase.
It's a 75% increase on mine.
Wow,
Yep.
see, Bobby could do the math really fast.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, may I add something to this?
Yes, please.
I just want to speak about the rate study itself.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Yeah, I think it's a favorable option to look at our structure. I think that's really our downfall in our rates and why the projections are the way they are, is because the structure itself pretty much is a flat rate structure. It doesn't present itself as fair and equitable to all the users.
But nothing changes the fact that we only have 1,000 users, and the money that our increased budget has to be paid amongst those people. I mean,
And I've heard you say that, and Mike say it a lot of times, and I want to believe you, but I don't understand how.
Right, I don't
if we
understand
still-
why
If we
it's
still
not.
have to raise whatever thousands of dollars every year, how, I mean, the people with the bigger meters are already paying through their flow, through their usage.
right, so the way to cover more of the debt service under our fixed costs is to focus on the base rate.
But the
So-
board's proposing to raise that.
Right, so there's different options. Right now, like I said, it's a flat single rate across the board. Every user has the same rate. Different towns use residential and commercial rates. Some towns charge based on meter size. So if you have a 1-inch meter, you're paying X. If you have a 6-inch meter, you're paying X.
Right.
Based on the demand. So there are different options to tier it. Right now we have 5,000 gallons as our minimum flow. Other towns have 2,000 gallons, other towns have 15,000 gallons. We really need to look at our users as a whole to see what the makeup is. How many people use only 5,000 gallons? How many people use 10,000 gallons? How many different size meters do we have? And we can develop a structure that I feel is fair and equitable to all, and not have to burden everyone across the board with that huge spike.
But isn't that the point, that everybody gets a share of the burden because it's benefiting everybody?
Right.
So
But right
would it-
now, a 2-person household, say, is paying the same as a 350-bedroom dormitory for a base rate. Yes, they're using more water over that base, but to
They're not
cover
paying the same, Jason.
But to cover the debt costs in the fixed rate, we need to focus on that base rate
But
more than
the board-
volumetric.
The board has already proposed to raise the base rate to cover the debt service.
Yeah, but may I speak?
Yeah.
Yes, please, please.
I understand exactly what he's saying, and it does make sense to me that you have a tiered system, because the house with 2 people in it should not be paying as big a burden as some of the people that have another thing.
Well-
And so, I mean, a tiered system would make sense to me. I know there are only X number of pieces of the pie that you can divide it around, but so there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers in that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be more fair and equitable for the person that is only using 1,000 gallons but having to pay a flat rate.
Yeah, right. I mean, some of the people who might benefit is the one-person house, certainly, and probably a lot of two-person homes. But we're already putting a heavy burden, additional burden, projected burden on PSU.
Can I see that one?
Yes, it could only go, that one could only
Yeah,
go
go up.
much
Show
higher.
them the other two, the hospital and
Yes.
the school.
Right, there's the hospital.
Oh, then the school's right there.
So, I mean, if
That's if
some
we don't do
people's,
anything different.
right, if some people's bills go down, and we do have at least several hundred who are below the current minimum,
Yeah,
then some of our bigger payers are, I mean, they'd have to
Right.
be paying more. I don't see how we can get around that.
Right.
I'm not pushing back here, I'm just pointing out that,
Right,
you know,
like
we have
Bob
a
was
fixed
saying,
number of dollars.
there's only so many
Pieces of the
users.
pie.
Right.
And, you know, I think that's what we've been struggling with all along, is to try and make it fair and equitable. And our big users are paying because they're using
Using
more.
more, yeah.
So they pay more for their usage. Should we tax them, in quotes, at a different rate just because they're a big user? And that's what we've been trying to wrap our hands around, I think.
Well, I like the idea, Jason. I mean, it's kind of like how you pay taxes and, you know, your percentages change on your wealth profile. That's the same kind of thing. I like the idea. I'm just not convinced that our pool is so small. You know, we got 1,000 people. You know, if this were 100,000 people, it might work. But and I'm not saying no, I just don't, my gut is that the pool is so shallow here that I don't think it's gonna work out. I think you'll protect those couple hundred people who are really low users, but the ones who are high users, you'll force them to do something drastic, which I don't think we could recover from. I mean, I don't know.
I think that's what we're gonna look at though, and prove that out, I think, with the rate study. And that's why I think it would be a benefit to say, yes, we've looked at all of our options and we are now faced with this projection. But I think without doing a rate study or even looking at different options of tiered structures within our own system, I think we're doing a disservice by not exploring that. I did pull up some different towns, different rate structures, and I don't know if you want to review those.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's gonna be easy to do that quickly, but
No,
I appreciate
I don't expect it to be done today, but just for food
this
for
is
thought.
Conway, yes, yes.
North Conway was one of the folks that took on a large debt service in recent
Right.
years, and that's their rate structure there. And they bill on a monthly cycle for residential. They bill on a quarterly for commercial. They have a tiered system.
How many users?
They have a minimum. I'm not sure how many users they have.
To your point,
They have a high commercial
Huge commercial.
Yeah,
setup, but it could be Plymouth in the future as well. You never know. I think there's enough commercial out there right now that we could get a representative sample. But like I said, we really need to look at our usage throughout our users, the different size users we have, and figure out if we can make a profile to match what we're looking to do and make it fair and equitable.
Is there a ski area in Conway?
Yeah, Cranmore.
Are they using
Oh, I don't know
local
if
water?
they're in,
Are they using
They're not
water to
sure.
make snow?
yeah.
Not city water.
No,
No,
wells.
they'd be using wells, yeah. probably. I've not ever heard any of our users say our billing method is unfair, or they feel like
Not yet.
that it's unfair. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, even the method, the method.
Population of North Conway is about 2,400 people.
No, but this is the Conway Village District, so
Oh,
it's
right.
even a microcosm.
Well, I mean, that gives you some,
That's what, the population?
yes.
So that doesn't speak to the businesses either
Right.
at all, so. But, I mean, anyway, I guess back to the question of, do we put the 20,000 in the budget?
Right.
And does the proposal contain what you want to learn? If we're not doing a risk analysis in terms of
Right, if we don't do
doing the
this.
work. No, I mean, we started to talk about what happens if we don't do these projects. But should we,
Yeah, and part of entering into this rate study that bothers me is that it doesn't help us right now, and that we need the help right now. So it's like we should have thought about this before.
we should have thought about this 15 years ago, Judy.
Right.
Yeah, right. I just said
lot of
before. I
things
didn't
have
say, hindsight's always the 2020.
Well, we didn't know,
But-
we didn't begin to think about, we didn't know we were gonna get the grant money until July.
Right.
So then we started thinking about the impacts in August, and we've been talking about it out loud since
Right.
September, so here we are.
Would
So,
it, would it be considered, if we decide to go forward with the rate study, say in early next year, what would the thoughts be of setting the rates without the projects this year, and then once we get the rate study next year, going further and saying, okay, now we can do
Well,
that?
that's what Mel mentioned earlier, is that we can hold off a year, but if we hold off a whole year, what the heck does that do for us getting the projects done in our 5-year time frame?
Oh, I mean,
it jams us
That's
up,
just-
it jams us up, and I think you have an answer to Jason's question. If we went ahead and set the rates without okaying, going forward with the projects, we would still want to build in.
Money.
Right, we have to
Money
build
for when
in
we do
money.
it.
Right, so whether, we're faced with this large choice. If we do not, I'd like to think that we keep open the notion here of whether or not we're moving ahead with these projects. Keep an open mind about this until we hear a voice of the community. And so if we're not going to go ahead with these projects, the alternative needs to be articulated. And that means still we have some level of rate increase. We've got to start saving money for what could be,
Instead of a
More-
75% rate increase, you might get a 65 or a 50.
or
Right.
And
30, I don't know,
and
whatever.
And
whatever
the
it would
wild
be.
card is that all these projects have been put off and put off and put off, and if we keep putting them off, we're gonna be paying more in the long run
That's
Right,
to repair.
which we know, we've been saying that all along.
But, I mean,
We'd be biting them off in small increments if we didn't get this big chunk of grant money.
Right.
So it's,
But, I mean, if you have the emergency and the breaks,
yeah.
I mean, like the one up here for $250,000.
Yep,
I mean, that could happen anywhere in town.
yes. Don't say it.
No, I know, but I mean, you have to be a
You're
realist about
absolutely
it.
right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's pay me now or pay me later.
well, I certainly would like to, I
was
would
gonna
feel
say,
more comfortable
yeah.
in my decision if I had
People.
a group of people from this
Don't
town.
disagree at all. I don't disagree.
Is
at
there
all.
any way we could do this, a group of people, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, absolutely.
The supervisors can give you a list of who was at that meeting.
I only need 4 more names. You guys will remember who they were.
Okay.
I've got them. I noted them into my phone today. Everybody but 4. I know you
And a
guys
few
can.
more for good measure, I mean.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
we can
mean,
invite more people.
there-
I want to make sure we get the ones that were here.
I mean, as silly as this sounds, is it worth spending money to send out a postcard mailing?
Yeah, that was another thing I thought of today. Usually I do an end of year letter that go out in the December bills. I know one lady reads it because she said one person said something about reading it, and that was nice to have in her billing. I was thinking we could do it December 4th. I don't know how many people will get in on the 27th of November. It's only 2 weeks, so it wouldn't give us time to get it going. Have a hearing and invite those people specifically, and then maybe we have another hearing in January like we usually do, and then it goes in the letter, the year-end letter, maybe more bold, or maybe that's the only thing in the letter, come to a hearing.
Well, I'd like it to be
I'd really
in
like
big
to be
bold letters.
sooner rather than later.
Your bill could double, we need your input, that kind of thing, like straight into the
Yeah,
point.
and you could have 2 hearings. You could invite the crowd that was here for annual meeting specifically, and anybody else you want to invite, and then just put out a general and there's no harm in having 2 budget hearings, or rate hearings, I should say.
Yeah. I just feel like we're so stuck
You are.
without
Yeah.
knowing what we're gonna do.
Well,
Because honestly, if we take on this, I'd like to cut everything that isn't 100% necessary. If that pole barn is not 100% necessary, if the paving's not 100% necessary, get rid of it.
Right, I mean, that's
You know,
what I would calling the new normal, which is that we have
if it's not burning and we have to put it out, then we don't do it. Not if we're gonna do this,
I mean,
but
leaking.
yes.
So the rate study that you're talking,
Yeah.
are they looking at 5 years out, 10 years out? Because a lot of these questions would pertain to future years other than just this increase
Exactly.
too.
Absolutely.
And that study is really important if that's what you're looking at. If you're looking at, you know, the rate increases that we're looking at now, and then we have to do it again in 3 years, then, you know, we all want to be moving out of town.
Right.
Right, I believe that the projects that we have on the table now in the master plan were identified as short-term, 0
We
to
have-
5 year.
we have lots more
intermediate,
projects.
5 to 10 year, and we have long-term, 10 to 15 year to 20 year, so.
These would be 5 years, but look at the proposal. But it doesn't, they're not proposing to do a risk analysis, so what's the consequence if we don't do it? Or, you know, then how do we accomplish the rest of the projects
Right.
that Jason just mentioned?
Mhm.
If we're paying,
Yeah,
we need, this debt service will be 28 years.
We do have a risk assessment, we have a consequence of failure versus likelihood of failure
In the master
plan,
right,
so.
Which is now 5 years old, so that's gonna change, but
But they have been identified as the high priority, high risk
Right, which is, I mean,
assets. Yeah.
we know that what we've taken on is
What we're proposing to do.
what we're proposing to take on exactly, are the ones that were the super high priority. I mean, we
Yes.
haven't even talked about anything that's the 5 to 10 year.
yeah.
Right.
Right, that's the additional, you know, the next wave of things that could come along.
I think that if the board wants to put this in the budget, you may want to have a conversation with Mike Terrio about exactly what we want in this study for the same money.
Right.
You know, be very clear so that we're not disappointed when we get the results.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how that could hurt at all. I mean, you know, we're given the complexity of and gravity of this decision, I think that would be worthwhile.
All right. So,
Once again, it's like sooner rather than later, right? I
Right.
mean, you have to be.
yeah, we could ask Mike to come up in 2 weeks if he's
Right,
available.
yes.
So for now, that number is in the budget. It's installed in the budget.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like we're sitting at town meeting, and I do mean town meeting, we're arguing over things that are $1,000 or $2,000, when we
Sidewalk.
really need to be arguing about, or not arguing, but discussing things that are really going to make a difference in the bottom line of the
This is
budget.
related to that.
Right,
mean,
I know.
This is
That's on
all
the
woven
agenda,
into the-
Judy.
Yes, it is.
It's on the agenda. Projects determination.
Yep.
So somewhere in your packet, there's also a CIP, an updated CIP, just so you have.
Yes,
I don't
thank
know that
you.
we need to talk about
No, it
it.
sounds like we're at a stepping ahead, moving on here, yes, thank you.
And we looked at the rates last meeting, and nothing's changed until we make decision, you know, more in-depth decisions.
Right.
Those were sample rates that we put together. Worst case scenario rates. And then we talked about the Holderness School. I'm sorry, I just moved into new old business.
That's okay, Mel, I mean,
Just go?
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
The Holderness School sewer evaluation, we're just waiting to see if Holderness is gonna fund that.
Right.
I already mentioned that. But then I put here, projects determination, interim financing, you know, if the board decides to go forward with these, you know, we have to kick into action steps, and the first one would be asking the treasurer to provide interim financing for some, all, whatever, of these projects. So, you know, I do feel like we've been on hold a bit. But that, I think you owe it to yourselves and the 1,024 users to do that. You know, the projects may be delayed a little bit because I know that, at least with Pump One, Mike Terrio is hoping to go out to bid in the winter.
It's an acronym, just tell me. What is it the acronym for?
Capital improvement.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
CIP.
Thank you.
You know that from Wixon.
Mm.
Yeah. Capital Improvements Program, sorry.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll keep projects determination and interim financing on the agenda for you, because at some point,
We've gotta
right,
bite the bullet.
right.
Yeah, I just.
Do we know-
I just like to say for the, I have a hard time tonight saying that I would vote for this, as much as I want these projects to move ahead, to move forward with what, I mean, at this moment, I mean, I feel like I need the benefit of feedback from people in the district.
Oh, yeah, I
So
agree.
why don't we plan a hearing for December 4th? An invitation.
Does that give us enough time? Can we do it on the 27th? If we do it for the people that we want to invite? I mean, they're getting a personal invitation, so.
27th is too soon.
December 4th, I said. You mean you want to do it on the 27th?
Don't we have another meeting on the 27th?
We do.
We do.
I think it's too soon to get that word out there.
You know, we want to get it in the paper, we
Oh, okay.
have to
I
figure
thought-
out who the other 4 people are and
Okay.
send them a letter. I mean, we
Okay.
could, but it could be skinny to get, I mean, if you want it on the 27th, I'll make it happen.
I'm willing to
But
hear.
I was just kind of thinking, people, you know, they.
Yeah, well, there is Thanksgiving, you know,
Right,
the
coming
distraction
back.
of Thanksgiving
Yep.
and whatnot.
Yeah, it's the Tuesday, yeah, I was getting past
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and before
Okay.
Christmas.
I kind of think I tend to agree with Mel.
Okay.
And we still have purchase recs.
Right.
Shall we knock those out? So we have 10 purchase recs this week. I'm going to read them off. Number 1, a $595 even payable to Automa Tech for SCADA alarms, annual maintenance and support. $1783 even to Harcross for chemicals. $4840 even to Solanus for polymer. $1197 and 22 cents payable to Advanced Lock and Alarm for 6 door closers to eliminate slamming damage to locks and handles. $871.76 payable to Ferguson for brass fasteners for curb stops. $2,988 even to Westcor for chemicals. $875 even payable to EII for new monitor for the Lime Solo control panel. Okay, and then $2,792 even payable to BMSI for software licensing. $1435 even payable to Jeff Demora for website maintenance, and then $930.04 payable to Needham Electric for a heat cable for the odor control blowers. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as written.
So,
Discussion? What are brass fasteners for curb stops?
Oh, it's on the purchase order.
Which are,
I only give you a little detail, otherwise I'm typing in, just repeating stuff that's on the purchase order.
I don't know.
I don't like to do this.
Anybody else have any?
625.
Jason, I'm assuming that the reason we're going to 3 different companies for our different chemicals is because they're less expensive than all going with one. Because I thought we only went with Harcross, and now we've got Solenis and West Cross.
Yeah, they're either the least expensive or the sole source. So
Okay.
in regard to the polymer, Solanus is the sole source
Oh, okay.
vendor for that. Same
And
with
the briquettes for
briquettes,
the-
yeah.
Okay. Alrighty,
We had experimented with Harcross polymer and it did not fare well.
okay.
I have no further
Okay.
questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sign away.
Anyway,
So can I just tell you a couple things while you're signing?
Yes, please. There's a couple for you, Steve.
You've got an expense report in front of you as of
this is just for you.
Oh, okay.
this batch.
I think that's a mistake somehow.
What is it? The
Think
rest
so?
of the signatures aren't on there?
There's only one signature on
Who's the
line.
vendor?
Automa Tech, the SCADA alarms.
You can all sign it. The budgets today have balances in water of, these are the operating budgets, not the capital budgets. 270,000 left in water, 316 in sewer, and with the anticipated payrolls and APs coming down the road, the water balance in the budget, now I'm not talking about cash, the budget would be about 150,000 in the black, and in sewer about 154,000. And that, of course, will vary, but that's what we anticipate now bringing the budget in at, not counting capital, because that's different. And in terms of cash, right now we're posting the revenues. There's $140,000 in the checking account that we haven't distributed to water and sewer, water or sewer. But beyond that, right now there's 380,000 in water in cash and over $1 million in sewer. So just, that's a little snapshot.
We've been running that pretty close to
Yeah.
the balances all along,
Yeah.
since I've been here.
Yeah.
And because of combining the accounts that we did, we're making about an extra $750 every month
In interest.
in interest.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
I just paid my salary with that.
This is a good time to ask for a raise because
Yes.
because I didn't put in a raise for the officers, but you guys can do what you want.
No way.
The idea of knowing what our balance of our budget will be is because that money will flow to fund balance. It's just budgeted money, but it will flow to our fund balance. We raise it through the rates, and if we don't spend it, it'll go into our fund balance. So I've been trying to track that as well.
And earlier when you said something about the voided check, it's because there were so many disbursements on one check that it took you 2 checks. It's printed on
And
one
I
and then
didn't-
printed on the other.
you
You
must have-
rolled your eyes.
You must have heard my face.
You
but I
rolled
didn't-
your eyes and I wasn't gonna let it go. I wasn't gonna let it go. The first check
Let me just count those to make sure.
First check ended up
What else in
printing
here?
that much on it, and then the rest of it
You gotta sign it.
distributed was on
I
that
feel
one.
like I haven't signed it.
So, it was a valid reason.
I already forgot about it, Bob. Anybody have any other thing or question?
No.
Able to sneak in everything I wanted to talk about. Jason?
I just wanted to mention too, I was able to punch the affordability rates management tool this afternoon.
Oh, you wouldn't have me mention that.
Okay.
This is the MHI?
Yep,
I think it's a little premature for that. I think
Okay.
Maybe.
I just wanted to throw it out
What does it come
there.
up to?
That for water and that for sewer.
Yeah. So the benchmark is 1.5?
1.5 to 3.
Yeah. So we put water at 245 and sewer at 358.
Yeah.
But this is the
I was just going to explain
RD,
that.
this is the RD, yeah, I don't want to get into weeds about it. This is the RD benchmark for grant money. Remember we talked about that? That we
Right.
have to be in the 1.5 to 3 range. So we put sewer over and put water at the higher end.
But it's also for affordability purposes based on the MHI.
Yeah. We have 2 MHIs in our town. One is the central town and the rest is the outlying town. It's weird. But anyway, keep that.
Yep.
We'll pull that out again.
Yeah, leave the envelopes.
Yes.
That's overhead.
Yeah, leave the envelopes.
You always leave envelopes. I don't need all that paper. This is Jason's.
So if anybody has any brainstorms, let me know. I'll proceed.
Okay,
And I'll ask Mike to come in at least to talk about it.
yes, that would be,
Yeah,
And
maybe Mike could come the 27th,
Yeah, that's what I
Right.
said.
because then we'll,
That's what I said, yeah.
yeah,
I
then
will-
we'll be able to have a little bit more information that we can pass along to people on the 4th.
And we'll, if you guys want to indulge me, I know you can come up with the other 4 names of people who were here. I got all the officers,
Supervisors.
the supervisors, Bobby, let me find them.
The Moorheads.
Yep, I got the more heads. I can't find my...
Hedberg.
And Susie Kedberg.
Here's my... I may not be able to find it. I did this today with Kim. I stood there and I talked into notes. Does notes get saved if you talk into your phone?
It should.
Yeah.
Don't ask me where, but it's there somewhere.
It was in notes.
It's in here.
Take it out.
I'll find it. And you don't have to hit save with notes either. It just should be there. All right, let's not. So all the officers, more heads.
Hedberg.
Mumford. The supervisors, well, their offices. I had gotten to, I only needed 4 names. The Turgeons, Mr. Sansucci.
Right.
Hedbergs.
Who?
Hedbergs.
Yeah, I had them, Hedbergs. And,
Brian from.
yeah, Dutile.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another man with him that I did not know.
Right.
Oh, yes.
But somebody, you knew who he was, I think.
No, I introduced myself to him, but I don't
Does he work
remember
at
his
DOT?
name. I don't remember.
Okay, so other man.
Just ask the supervisors for the list. They have checked off who
I
was
just thought
there.
this was fun.
Okay, it's fun.
Oh, Wendy Wolfson,
Dick Flanders was there.
Flanders and his
Yeah.
wife, thank you.
Yeah, Dick
It
and
is,
Kathy.
it is fun.
Yes.
And Kathy. And Wendy Wolfson, out of the blue.
Yeah.
That's right.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 supervisors with Beth, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we need, I got to 21 because we needed 4 more. We had 25 voters. All right.
And of course, we could also announce this on the
Oh,
website
yeah.
as well.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yes.
Well, and now we've just announced it to
Yes.
the community
Right.
channel. See, now Bobby's gonna,
I'm not going to waste
You're
my
not gonna-
time. It's like Einstein. He didn't know his phone number.
oh,
Because you
well, you
look
know
it up
what,
in the
I
phone
almost
book.
emailed, I mean, I was having fun doing this. I was gonna email you and ask you to ask Jane if she could look at who checked in. She's a supervisor, right?
That's what I said.
Do you want me to email you, or? Well-
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'll email you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, at 6:35,
Oh, James.
call this meeting as adjourned.